Hello everyone, my name is Susanna Stewart McLean, and today my students and I will be demonstrating one way that students at the grade 1 level is able to analyze data. Now for today's activity we'll be using a die which I created using the favorite fruit from the students of my class. We'll also be using an activity sheet which I also created, and another material that we'll be using is crayons. Now the crayons will be specific colors to the activity sheet, and last but not least, our students will need their pencils in order to complete this activity. Now first off, let me go into our specific objectives of this activity. Now for this activity, our students should be able to, by the end of this activity, accurately record the number of rolls made by coloring the box over the fruit that the die lands on. Number 2, accurately color the activity sheet based on given instructions. And number 3, appropriately answer questions asked at the bottom of the activity sheet. And last but not least, number 4 is appropriately name the graph. Now for this activity, we do have some procedures that the students will have to go through. Well, for this activity, students can be separated into groups. Now, when we conducted this activity, my students were separated into 5 groups. And what we did was to have the students roll the die, but first a student was selected from each group to hand out the activity sheet to their group. After that was done, or while that was being done, our students were asked to take out the materials that would be required to complete the activity. Once your students have all their materials out, as a teacher you can walk around just to make sure that they do have all the correct crayons, they have the activity sheet and their pencils out. Now once this is done, what will happen is that the students will get the opportunity to roll the die. It's 1 student per group and it's 5 groups. Now the die will be rolled 10 times. That means each group will get to roll the die 2 times to help to fill out the activity sheet. Now once the die is rolled, the student that rolls the die or the group that rolls the die will say, "I have rolled a banana." Now this will indicate to everyone in that classroom that they are to color above the fruit banana in the color yellow. Now for this, once the die has been rolled 10 times and all the data has been recorded on our activity sheet, we can now ask the children specific questions or student specific questions to make sure that they have accurate information, or all students have accurate information, such as, when the die was rolled, how many pineapples did you get? How many melons did you get? How many bananas were rolled? How many grapes were rolled? What is the number of fruits of oranges you got? What is the amount rolled for the apples? So we would have specific questions to make sure that everyone in the class has the same information on their activity sheet. Once that is done, the students will be asked to answer the questions at the activity sheet. Now, you don't have to use my questions. You can always get your own questions based on the roles that was done by your students. Now, I have 3 questions for my students to answer. One is, using the graph, how many times did the banana appear? Number 2 question says, if Mary rolls the die once, how likely is it that she will get an apple? And number 3 question says, using the graph, which fruit appears most often? Now, from there, once the children have finished answering that question, they can go ahead and name the graph. So here I have 2 students that are about to demonstrate the activity, and they have all their materials. So they have the die, crayons, pencils, and the activity sheet. So here's a closer look at the activity sheet, where this is the key. So the key shows the color crayon that they would use. At the bottom of the graph, there are the fruits, and based on the key, they would use whatever color to color that box. Alright, so the students are gonna start by throwing the die.
I rolled a melon. No, I should not take it out now.
Because the student said that they rolled a melon, all students will go ahead and color the box above the melon, and the color for that box is pink. Now the dice will be rolled 10 times until they have completed all 10 rolls. Now the second student will roll the die.
I rolled an orange.
So an orange was rolled, and they'll go ahead to color the box above the orange. Here I have the completed graphs done by the students. And as you can see, the objectives have been clearly met. So they have accurately recorded the number of rolls made by coloring the box above the fruit that the die land on, accurately color the activity sheet based on given instructions, and appropriately answered the questions at the bottom of the activity sheet. Last but not least, they have named their graphs. Alright, so thank you again for tuning in, and that's all for today. See you again next time.